Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is Tony Rasmussen, creator, writer, star, etc. of Rants and Reviews. This is the Season 2 premiere, Episode 20, The Controller Evolution. So, the first question I probably would hear a lot from you people is, why is Season 2 up and not Season 1? There's a good story behind that. Season 2 is up because these are the episodes that were all edited out and were all, given their proper needs. Season 1, I often feel, was more of a, I would say, experimental, and we were just doing it as more of vlogs and stuff like that. So, with that said, the origin of this episode. Yeah, at the time, the first year was back in 2012, the first season. And then we did Season 2 back in the spring of 2014. And so a lot of time had passed by that point. And during that period, I kept coming up with, no, I don't want to talk about that joke ever again. And if I do, please kill me. But in between that period, there was a lot of stuff. That was a nasty shot, by the way, at Yoshi News. And, by the way, those guys were really good partners with them. Their creator and me, we are really good friends. And, things have been kind of good now. And I kind of actually work for them now more than I work for TVC. And, but my point is, back to my point, yeah, a lot of ideas just started to spring up by that point, and there was a lot of talk, and I actually got into talks with, a few of my friends that would be like, what would you guys do if I came back, with new shows? And, but talking to some of my friends, and then, at one point just bringing up the idea of even doing new shows. I finally just thought to myself at one point, I'm just like, I might as well do it, so I ended up doing it, and we started production back in early January, and the first episode premiered January 2nd, and the way we produce these shows, it's interesting. We produce these in one night. We do it as a one-night thing. Often or not, I'm often a camera guy, and then another person you've seen in the credits is Megan Rasmussen. She's my sister. She'll often help me out. She'll do cinematography. She did it for every episode up to, I'll say, 25. Because I think she didn't do it for 23, but she came back for 24. No, not 20. No, she did it. She did it for episodes 20, 21. She didn't do it for 22. And then she came back for 25 and then onward. But she's, often in and out and is helping with us. This, I could tell you right now, these episodes are really dated, I can tell, because I would say now in the period since the season finale of Season 2, which, in retrospect, by the way, was like the end of April for us over on the group page. It was the end of April, or no, the end of March, beginning of April. Lots of stuff has changed, and the interesting thing is, the room is now definitely changed, and we're planning to do new episodes. As I'm doing this commentary, we're planning to start filming new episodes soon, and we now have to comply on a joke over why the room has changed since, the last episode of the series. So we're coming up with a joke for that one. But no, the point being made was we did these episodes fairly quick. An episode, in retrospect, would take 1 to 2 days to produce. And now it's still kind of the same, but we're trying to stretch it out even longer. So we'll have now productions that'll last God, they'll last up to 2-3 days now. I mean, working on the new episodes, it's been hard trying to just compile down how many episodes I want to do. And I know in the trailer we just put up, we said 14, and then I admitted to 8, and then just this morning I changed it to 4. And that's because we're having a little bit of financial troubles here on TVC, and no, I'm not doing Patreon or Kickstarter. It's not that I hate it, it's just I don't know, I never did that. But no, what it is we're spending the money on Ransom reviews, and we're also working on this new project at the same time. We're working on James and Rocco still. We're getting that finished up. James and Rocco right now, we want to be the big cheese, and we're finishing that up, and we're planning to pitch in February in New York. That's our plan, is to pitch in February in New York, in Canada in May. We're planning to pitch in Toronto. So between those two periods, we're having to save up all this money and trying to get ready to go. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm trying to think. The point I'm trying to make is, when you're running with money issues, often it will affect the channel, And yes, I was planning to monetize at one point, but I don't think I would have actually done it. This is something I'll bring up again in the Nintendo episode, but I'm gonna bring it up here. I've heard from a lot of people, and I'll go more into detail, but a lot of people have asked me why do I buy Nintendo stuff? Why do I buy like the Nintendo consoles and games and stuff like that? Like I said, I'll go into more detail, but for now I can just say it's because I personally have more respect for Nintendo. If that's the way to put it, I have more respect for them, and I was practically raised more on Nintendo than I was on any other console. I know that's kind of contradictory because I stated in this episode that I also had a PlayStation, which I also got when I was a kid. Well, those are both true. With Nintendo, it was, I picked up the NES at a garage sale, played the NES for a couple years, and then as the years went on, I got more and more consoles for that, and, to play the NES games. And then with PlayStation, it was kind of hit and miss sometimes, and then, I played N64 back on Nintendo, and, it was all over the place. But, I've heard from plenty of people, they're like, why don't you buy an Xbox 360, or why don't you buy a PlayStation 3 or 4? Well, I don't mean to sound harsh when I say this, but I don't want to be a basement dweller. And I know that's something that I'm going to get like a lot of comments on, and someone's going to say, oh, well, you're just, you're being narrow-minded. No, I think I've known people who have Xboxes and PlayStations, and they're not all basement dwellers, by the way. They're nice people. It's just, I don't want to go down that path and be that guy who's on the comments or, is in the, message board saying, I'm gonna come over and fucking rape your mom and shit like that. I mean, I'm not into that, being that big of a dick, I mean. But, saying that now, that brings up a lot more questions, which is there a difference between the way I am on film and the way I am in real life? There's a slight difference. I say on the show I think I'm a little more prickish, and I think that's because that was the way I intended for my character to be on the web shows, to be a prickish, and then, yeah, that was a mistake. And then in real life, I'm not really that big of a jerk. In other words, I would say if you get on my wrong side, yeah, I could be a big jerk. But if you just understand what I'm trying to go through, then, I won't be a jerk to you and you can't be a jerk to me. So, So basically that results in my character is different here than he is, than I am in real life. Yeah, I don't really own an SNES, which I can admit is kind of sad, but it's one of those things that's on my list of stuff I have to buy. I would say, with the room changing, lots of stuff had changed too within the context of between this point and we'll say season 3. A lot more games. A lot more games have come in. A lot more consoles have come in. And I know there are a few consoles I didn't mention here. I tried to mention some of the few mainstream ones that everyone knows, like, the Atari consoles, the Nintendo consoles, the Sony consoles, the Sega consoles, the, Microsoft consoles. I didn't mention consoles like Philips or 3DO or Magnavox or all of them. There's a good reason why. And it's not only, one, because I don't own it, it's because, two, those consoles they're hard to talk about because especially when you don't own one of them, and you can't do your research based on it, it's kind of hard. But here's a sign that times have changed. Between, I would say, the last episode of the series, which we filmed back in April, and what we're filming now, like I said, lots of stuff had changed. We've gotten more games and consoles and stuff. This is a funny story. I was at a Goodwill, it was my birthday. I came across in the electronics section a Philips CDI, and I'm sitting there, mouth wide open, going, holy shit. And I looked around thinking, no one else is like, and I know no one else would care, but I'm just looking like, like no one else, who would probably pay attention to like anything they listen to on, line would be like, so I went and I'm like, okay, I gotta pick this up. How much? Oh, $11. That's not bad. Yeah, I paid $11 for a CDI, and everything that came with it. There was cords, there was a controller, there was the console, there was the instruction booklets. The only thing it didn't come with was games, which I was surprised. But the funniest part of the story was, that was my birthday, so let's say 3 months later, so we're now into, let's say, September, so 2 to 3 months later, my cousin, Adam Paczynski, who you may have heard of from Failure Were Friends, and he was in Hanging Out at Walt Disney World. He is one of the co-stars and co-creators. He was over because it's festival weekend. He's often over. We have a festival here. And when I showed him what I gotten, he looked down. I'm like, tell me what that reads. He reads it, Philips Computer Disc Interactive, and he just jumped back up and he is like, holy shit, where did you get that? And when I told him the story, he's like, really? I'm like, yes, I paid $11 for a console, which they barely made enough of, by the way. I think they only made like 100 million. I think I'm wrong. I know it was some really low number. It wasn't as low as Virtual Boy, but it was a low number. But I just remember after that, it was just like, And he's like, well, you gonna buy some games? I'm like, I'm not gonna waste $200 on some games that I'm barely doubting will ever work, but, I'm not gonna waste it now. I'll wait until the time is right. So, it's one of those things. Along that period, too, I had acquired a new clone console. So this one now plays Sega Genesis games, so I got now Sega, Nintendo, and SNES, so that's great. But I still don't have enough SNES games, which, actually, now I just bought another one, and I also just bought 3 new Game Boy games, or No, 2 new Game Boy games, a new NES game, 5. Now bear with me, guys. I'm trying to just remember. 5 new Wii U games, which meant I bought a Wii U console. And for all the harshness it's been getting, I love it. I thought it was. I think it's really cool. I really love the console. I'm playing Smash Bros. And Mario Kart now. It's $120 worth of both games, but I love it. And I'm trying to remember what else I got between the periods. Oh, actually, another NES game I got in 2, actually. So I got in DuckTales, and then I got Golgo 13, which, by the way, is a really great game. I highly recommend it for anyone looking to add on to their NES collection, if you don't have it. I'd also acquired Ocarina of Time. I got Sonic 2. I now have a lot of Sega Genesis games, and I've been getting a lot more GameCube games. I just got Metroid and Dragon Ball, and I gotten a few DS games, which is kind of funny because the DS I had often used was busted. I actually had a DS, a Game Boy Advance. They're both busted now, courtesy of my little brother, but that's beyond the point. So yeah, so this video, I can say, is really dated. And that blue remote, by the way, is lost forever. I have no clue where that is, and I keep telling myself I will look for it, but I don't know where it is. But yeah, but when this video came out, I had just played the demos of the Wii U. I did not buy the console, which also, by the way, cost $320, and I got the bundle that came with Mario 3D World, which was a fun game. So if you want, write in the comments below what your favorite Wii U games are, and tell me some that you'd recommend for me, because I'll tell you right now what I got. Nintendo Land, Mario 3D World, NES Remix, Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros. That's all I got. And it's surprising because the additional games that I bought cost me about $150. So add that to the cost of the console, and I spent almost, I would say almost $500 on the console. But I think here I said in this episode, I think I said 3D Land. I meant 3D World. So I must have gotten the two mixed up. And that's often a common problem now, is all the consoles are getting, the games especially are getting mixed up. So this ending, where did this come from? Oh, that was it. I just remembered now. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's where it came from. The ending of this came from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And then, speaking of Smash Bros, Melee. And I just realized now that the mute icon is sitting there. So this basically, this whole thing has been on mute. And, so, yeah, that was episode 1 of Season 2, and we'll see you next time for episode 2.